Hello, buddy. We're here.
We are. We're back.
It is the feel in the air that's different. The clouds are gloomy. It was a little chilly yesterday. It feels like fall is trying to make a very, very quick approach this year.
I definitely think fall's making a quick entrance. I went to the gym this morning, and it was chilly enough that I put on a sweatshirt. Not bad, not in a bad way, like when we were up in Letchworth, but chilly enough where I felt comfortable wearing a sweatshirt. And it before and post gym. Normally, when I come out of the gym, I'm on next level heat from all the working out. I was like, I could still wear this and feel comfortable. So yes, I am loving that the temp is dropping. It's really fun.
So we got a episode to do today, and we're trying to give our listeners and now watchers or viewers.
Watchers sounds a little.
Watchers sounds a little like the Netflix documentary.
Buffy.
Movie,
sounds a little Buffy.
But we're trying to give people a pre-taste of spooky season. And yesterday, if you follow the Instagram page, swab_podcast, I dropped the full lineup for spooky season. And we apologize for last week's episode towards the end. The mic got a little wonky. You heard it in the podcast outlets. In the video, I kind of cut it short. So we're hoping these new mics are... We learned.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I say all the time, there's no, losing. There's winning, succeeding, or there's learning. And we learned. So let's hopefully we succeed some.
We're just trying to give everybody good content. We enjoy doing it. It's fun. We've been doing a lot more each year. And we got some good news coming in the few weeks when I finally formally announce it. But we have our spooky season lineup, and it starts September 30th, and it's going to be pretty fun. And one of the lineups is actually going to be released prior to September 30th. I think I put that on there. And it's going to be fun. Got a lot of guests, special guests, a lot of places we're going to. And for this episode, we just wanted to give you guys, because at least here in New York, the weather's changing, as you heard Nick and I say. But urban legends.
Crocodiles in the sewer.
Do you consider the Loch Ness Monster a urban legend or folklore?
I think that's more folklore mythology than urban legend, because an urban legend is typically you could apply it to a lot of locations, and it applies. So La Llorona, right? Or I shouldn't say La Llorona, because La Llorona is specific, but the woman in white is an urban legend because there's multiple different variations. Crocodiles in the sewer can be anywhere that has sewers, right? Loch Ness is specifically to Loch, just like I just said, La Llorona wouldn't be urban legend. Woman in white, maybe. Loch Ness, no, it's a cryptid specific to that area.
So urban legend. Now, a lot of people that follow the podcast, they're in the New York City area. Here's an urban legend. Buckout Road. Familiar with it?
Not one of mine. No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
So Buckout Road is a road in Yonkers, New York. And I've been there once. And it's a road that supposedly has this history to it. Like there was witches that lived on it, sacrifices, all this stuff happened there. And if you go to the road at a certain time, or you park your car and you flash your lights, albinos come out, like these albino people. It's supposed to be like disfigured people. Me and a couple of friends went there, and I brought old school camera. And I remember recording, and it was my friend Charlie and me. We were there, and a raccoon, definitely a raccoon, some animal, was in the shrubs.
You saw the shine of the lights?
We saw the lights. So Charlie was like, "Do you see that over there?" And I was like, "What?" And I'm filming. And then he goes, I wish I had this video still. And he goes, "And it blinked." And we ran back to the car, because at that time it was like, we didn't know, long story short, the Buckout Road is a very famous urban legend for Yonkers, New York. And that's an urban legend. Matter of fact, it was such an urban legend, and it got so popular, because paranormal picking up steam now, that...
Definitely, I feel like that happened when we all were,
They turned into a movie.
Just staying inside for health purposes.
Well, That's yeah. I mean, you during that time you could have seen the movie, but they turned this into a movie. The person, somebody in that area, actually liked the whole concept of it and turned it into a full fledged movie. I don't know how it did, but that's a local urban legend. Then you go to Jersey. Another urban legend is Clinton Road. Now, ironically, with Clinton Road, I went there. Didn't really see anything when I went there. Friend that I brought there didn't want to get out of the car when his uncle brought us there because we were fairly young. But there was a video that was featured on Paranormal Caught on Camera. Now, Paranormal Caught on Camera is a pretty good show that's on travel. And I love it because it's something different. It's just all these video clips that are sent in to the show. And then you have a cast of people that are like kind of like us. We know what we're talking about, I would like to say. And they go through the video and say, well, this is good evidence. They never really say it's bad evidence. In the last couple of seasons, some of the stuff is not really that great.
Is this the show you were talking to me about? Where there's like one episode where it looked like a little troll doll was running across in CGI?
Yes, and I said it was CGI. Matter of fact, I had in July, I believe. Was it July?
You had one of the people from the show.
June or July. I forgot when it was. Time's flying.
June, I believe. June.
I had
Nate
Nate Johnson on the show. He was featured on that show, and he continues to post stuff on his YouTube page. And he posted something last night. I wrote to him like, you got to get us there. You got to get us to. We'll take the hours trip to New York. We'll go. You got to get us there. And I had him on. Ironically, with that show, he was kind of like scouted. He didn't send his footage in. He got scouted from his YouTube page. Someone from the show or a producer and asked him to come on. He finally got back. That's how he got on the show. But show's good. Lots of evidence. But what I was getting at is Clinton Road. There was a video sent in to them. And one of the legends, because there's many things within that folklore or urban legend of Clinton Road. Lady in white. Very typical. You even have, I believe, where your car gets pushed with the handprints. I'm not sure if it's there, but there's a lot of stories. A boy that got hit by a car near a bridge that's underwater, that's near water there. But one of them is a ghost truck, which is
Phantom trucks.
Phantom trucks, phantom cars. I always think about Twisted Metal, Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
Very common urban legend around the world.
Definitely. And it's definitely all over the United States with all the routes and highways that we have.
In the video that was on Paranormal Caught on Camera, there was a truck chasing these kids. And they did everything they were told to do from the urban legend. Go on the road, shut the car off, high beams, the whole nine. And a red truck did follow them. And the way I believe videos, like when we went to the cemetery, Letchworth, and you heard my reaction, genuine. You saw my face. Their reaction was genuinely they were scared. Like, it wasn't maybe they had one of their friends say, yo, go behind us in your truck and chase us. Their reactions were all genuine. And the best part about it is there was two different point of views on that video. There was someone in the back seat who took their phone out and a dash cam footage of their car they were driving. And they saw the red truck come behind from in front of them, and then it was behind them. And then it just seemingly drove off in front of them and was gone. And the road is a very long road. I talked about Clinton Road a little bit on earlier episode, way before you and Joey were on.
Yep. And I know exactly who you're talking about when you say you went with them and wouldn't get out of the car. Yeah, so phantom trucks, they're interesting, right? They've been around as long as byways and roadways. I would go so far as there are tales, unsubstantiated at this point because we're very far removed, of phantom travelers in coaches and on horseback. So, that's more or less, I can't read his mind, and God rest his soul, but Stan Lee is dead. Ghost Rider had to come from somewhere, right?
They say that a lot of stuff in movies and TV comes from something real, right? And you could be right. Stan Lee Ghost Rider. Maybe not the whole comic
esque parts of it,
part
right?
of it, but
like the
story.
Right. And the fact is, when you have multitude, so we talk about Phantom trucks, or we can talk about the Phantom cars. We could talk about Stephen King did it with what was the name of that car in the movie? He made a movie about the car that became possessed. Regardless, roadways in general, when they have multiple different urban legends based around them, then you start to get more out of the realm of just urban legend, and you might be diving into the religious or the spiritual aspect, where we've seen it in a multitude of media. Roadways, and especially intersecting roadways, are locations, crossroads, where demon activity, because it's open. Mm-hmm. And, so it might not be necessarily that we're looking at a real phantom truck or a real phantom car or a real woman in white. It just might be this presence that can morph and change into what we fear most or what we've read most. And we've talked about that too, bringing Slender Man, right? Bringing it to life kind of deal.
Slender Man was brought to life. I wouldn't consider that an urban legend. I would consider that, I was going to get into that. It was funny. What am I going to talk about when we talk about urban legends, right? Because we're kind of just giving people an episode today. The real good, juicy stuff is coming up. And I have to say, I don't consider that an urban legend, but I did think last night, what would I say with Slender Man got mentioned? I say that in the next 15, 20 years, maybe sooner, it's going to be considered an urban legend.
Right, because it'll be, you hear about those girls? What they did because of this guy?
And the story's going to get misconstrued, and it's going to be Slender Man made them do it, not knowing that it was just they really believed something that came from a competition.
Manifestation.
Well, Slender Man itself came from a competition.
Right.
This artist created a story. He drew it. I think he won. And it made its way to, internet. And then people started looking at it and making it, like you said, manifesting into a story. Unfortunately, these two girls almost killed their friend, stabbed her multiple times because they said the Slender Man made him do it. And we're living in a time where, mental illnesses is
much more prevalent.
Yeah, it's much more prevalent. And those kids really believe that.
So that's an interesting point, right? So when we talk about urban legends in that context, we can say that all these stories started somewhere with some kind of oral tradition, some kind of tale.
Yeah, you said oral.
And
I'm such a kid.
And so anyways, but they take this story, it's been passed down generation by generation by word of mouth, and then through the game of telephone, for those of you who don't know, is if I told Billy something, then Billy told somebody else something. By the time it got to the 10th or 11th person, it wouldn't be what I originally told Billy, because everybody adds like their own little interpretation. They hear, they don't listen, and it's not a fault of any human. It's not intentional. Most of the time, it's just nature. You hear, you go, this is what I thought I heard, because you're not fully listening. So you tell the next person, and it's a little change, and a little change, and a little change. So you say 15 years from now, 25 years from now, it will be Slender Man really made me do it.
Right.
Slender Man will be a real urban legend at that point, right? How do we? Crocodiles in the sewer. We'll go back to early 2000s. What was popping up in the forest all over the place? And in the pictures. And in the towns.
Clowns?
The creepy clown, right? Right. Well, one, that was people doing it, right? Look, and this was the earlier days of the internet, chasing clout or chasing virality, right? But it was also, if you keep feeding into it, it will grow. If you pay it no mind, it dies. But if, with the internet being where we get a majority of our news these days and a majority of our truths, then yeah, you can grow an urban legend.
Speaking of urban legends, when we were growing up, it was a really interesting book series. It became a series. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Was that Are You Afraid of the Dark? Is that what that became? Or is it a different show?
No.
Okay.
Scary. I believe the book was called Scary Stories or Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Okay.
Very famous. If I'll pull up an image.
We'll put the graphic right on the video.
It became a movie. fairly recently, a couple of years ago. And I think their second edition book, they included Bloody Mary was in that. I know you hate it. I was just thinking of one of the episodes we did, and you're like, don't say it. And I definitely clipped it. But Bloody Mary, urban legend.
Twice.
Oh, that's twice?
Don't do it again, please.
Listen. Bathroom's right there.
I know. I have a bad childhood trauma from that. Thank you very much.
But that's an urban legend.
Uh-huh.
And you know what's crazy? Is that it goes back, like, deep in history. I was looking at it a little bit yesterday, the whole Bloody Mary thing. That was 3 times.
It's in the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, it goes back a long way. And then people changed it into if you go in the bathroom and you do X, Y, and Z. And then guess what? What movie is very famous if you say their name? Well, not just Beetlejuice, because I know Beetlejuice is coming out, what, this week or something?
September 6th or something.
Yeah, it's coming out very soon. But not just Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I know. You're going to talk about Tony Todd.
Candyman?
Yep.
Candyman.
Right.
Right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, they got the idea of saying Candyman 3 times from Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I would imagine that, so when we make...
By the way, those were real bees.
Right.
That blew my mind. They had this actor swarmed in real bees. Granted, they were honeybees,
right,
which are pretty docile,
and they're not really stinging bees in general.
Well, they could sting.
Yeah, but they don't unless
Right. Then they die if they sting.
So, yeah, he's actually a horror icon. That guy, Tony. I think his name is Tony Todd.
He don't get a lot of credit. Didn't they do a second one recently?
They did like 4 or 5 of them.
No,
and
but
then
like
they did a remake.
Yeah,
one. They did a remake.
He was in it.
Yeah, he was, and he's also in the Final Destination. He's in the first one for sure. He plays like the guy in the city morgue, and then he becomes the de facto devil character of Final Destination. But he doesn't get a lot of credit. He's a very good actor, and he's got a very unique voice. But yes, so when you take entertainment, it's coming from things like that were meant to thrill, meant to scare, meant to... So if you go back to the original, right, I believe it's a story of a queen or a woman who was using her position, killed someone, hit it, and then, it's morphed over time into The Look in the Mirror. But there was definitely glass involved, which is why if you watch the movie The Brothers Grimm with is it Matt Damon? And Heath Ledger, I think it's Matt Damon. And they confront this woman in the tower who very much is like that, and it's all about the glass. So yeah, these stories will stretch back through time with humans because they are meant, A, to teach lessons. We've talked about that with stories like Krampus, right? But B, they're meant to thrill. You need to keep, especially most of these times you're telling these to young children to teach, again, lessons. You're going to make it involved and scary. So then it morphs over time. Things that are scary in the 50s and the 40s are not scary necessarily to us now.
You know what I like about urban legends? And it goes right directly into paranormal. A lot of them are based on some truth. And the truth is made into a bigger thing. Mm-hmm. But not only that, is that every urban legend that has something spooky that happens, if you do a certain thing, if you flash your lights, if you say Bloody Mary 3 times, that's like 5 times, 6 times.
You're way past the number at this point.
Or if you put powder on the back of your car and leave your car in neutral, it gets pushed across a railroad or whatever. It also involves a very tragic story, right? The pushing of the car across the railroad. There's roads all around the United States. I think it's kind of been debunked that if you put the powder on the car, the reason you see handprints is because your prints are probably already there. And as much as you think that you wiped your car, cleaned your car, your fingerprints are still there because of the oils and stuff. That's why police officers, when they pull someone over, you know what they do when they get out of the car before they even come to the window?
Tap on the trunk.
Right. They tap on the trunk so that their fingerprint is on that car.
I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's a good one. The mushrooms.
Well, I don't take mushrooms, but yes, mushrooms
But
probably.
they tap the car so that if the car takes off,
their fingerprints on the car.
Their fingerprint is on the car somewhere there, and they can identify the car if they try to like do a GTA and go into a garage and come out. Like the fingerprint is there. So like that's been debunked that the powder, it's your fingerprints. And moving across the railroad, I don't know really how that works if your car is in neutral, unless you think the road is on a hill, but it's really not, because there's a lot of houses like that you go up and...
Well, I could tell you how that would work.
Go ahead.
Just scientifically, like...
You're the science guy.
Trains weigh more than cars.
Nick Nye, the science guy?
That's right. Trains weigh more than cars. Trains travel at a very high velocity. What happens? You ever watch what happens?
Wait, you're saying train.
Train.
I'm talking about the car.
Yeah, but I'll get to why the track is there. What happens when a train goes by?
There's a charge.
Or forget that. Forget the electro part of it. The rocks on the side of the train, what happens to them? Do they just stay stationary?
No.
They start to move, right?
Right.
Because they're vibrating, because the ground is vibrating. Even when you're in a car, ground is vibrating a little bit, just not as much, right? That's why we have shock absorbers in cars. The train is vibrating the ground. It's possible that your car being in neutral, not in park, but in neutral, is now going to move because the ground itself is moving. So that's causing the car to move.
See, I'd like to buy into that, but then you're taking into a fact that the train is a mile or 2 or 3 miles away, and that the whole rail is moving. And then there's some roads where there's no train track. It's just you stop at the road and the car gets pushed. So like that part to me is a little hard to debunk.
Right.
But what I was getting at with that is the initial story for the first place it took that the story came from, which, sorry, I don't know exactly because there's so many of them, is that a bus of kids got stuck at a railroad or an intersection, crossroad, and don't quote me on this, but it's in the realm of accurate. And the bus of kids, they told, obviously, when something happens on a bus, the kids, right? You tell them, unless it's a really bad accident, you just tell them stay in the bus, right? Mm-hmm. They stayed in the bus, and a train came or a tractor trailer came and ended up hitting them because the bus stalled, and all the kids passed away. So if you drive to that particular part where this happened, this paranormal occurrence happens. Again, probably, that's unfortunately happened. A tragedy becomes an urban legend, something paranormal happens. That's why I kind of like the whole urban legend thing, because it comes from some truth. And a lot of times people go to these places and something happens that's paranormal. And there's so many urban legends, and you see people all over YouTube. They go to a place and they test things out. I know growing up, I went to Buckout Road once. I know people still go there to this day. We're going, I didn't even tell you yet. Too bad Joey's not here. Hopefully you get to stop by tomorrow for a little bit. But we're going to Oakland Cemetery. And in Oakland Cemetery, it used to be called something different from Civil War times. They changed the name to Oakland Cemetery. And let you know now for your Knicks notes. Got a few weeks for this episode.
Awesome.
It's on the website if you saw it yet.
I did. I was checking them out.
So in there, supposedly a lady in white, again, walks the cemetery to protect and scare people off. People go there to do that. A lot of people venture to these places and they catch some kind of paranormal evidence, which leads me to a next point about urban legends, like the Slender Man. I guess if it's talked about so much that eventually you can manifest it into truth, right? Like what do people say to their friends when they really want something? Well, you got to
Visualize and manifest.
Visualize and manifest it, right? We said today, we got this. The microphones are going to work today. We got this. Let's see.
And it took a while.
I was manifesting like a motherfucker.
It did take a while, but we got them up and running.
We think we found our
solution,
issue.
hopefully. So yeah, I was going to bring that up. I wanted to let you continue your point. So we're big Ghostbusters fans also, folks, if you haven't noticed. And in the second movie, they have the mood slime, right? Positive manifestation gives you positive things. That's how they make the Statue of Liberty move. Negative brings out all the negative ghosts, right? But they're not necessarily those ghosts. They could just be negative emotions being manifested from the people. So the judge gets the Scolari brothers, because those are people that have always weighed on him. He gave him the chair. He knows that whatever, it's negative for him. So you go to this site. Maybe those spirits have moved on, but you are so intent, and there's so many people that go and do it. You're bringing that energy there. And we have talked about how the fact that natural energies or electromagnetic signals definitely play some kind of role.
Right.
You bring those things back.
And you give off electromagnetic field.
Right. And by going there with that intent and that, purpose, you manifest these beings, whether they're the actual beings or they're your electromagnetic signals being put out, because energy can't be gone. It's got to go somewhere. So you're putting the energy out, the energy comes right back to you the way you want it.
It's like, like you don't like someone and your friend tells you, why? They're all right, right? And you try to find things in that person that you don't like, and it makes you like hate them even more. Like if you, back in the day, you're dating somebody, right? And they give you one red flag, and then now you're prying into everything. Eventually you're gonna find stuff.
Right. If you're looking for the negative,
you're gonna find negative. Right. Just like if you're looking for something paranormal, you're going to find something paranormal, right? In the beginning, when I first started ghost hunting, the first time I went to Gettysburg, I knew the place was haunted. I'm like, I'm going to find something. I'm going to find something. And of course, when I looked at a couple of pictures, I'm like, oh, look, I got an orb. Or look, I got a face, pareidolia. And you make it that, and then I believed it. You know what I mean? Now I look back at some of the photos, and I did find them.
I saw them. Did you post these?
I posted the Sparta Cemetery ones.
Yes.
Where you kind of could see like it looks like things on the grave and the red blotches. I didn't post a picture of the Jenny Wade house.
You found it?
I found it with a silhouette of her, and I think they changed the landscape there. So I don't know at the time I took the photo if there was a tree directly behind the statue that would create that. Looks just like a lady though, like dark. But I'll show you it and I'll let you know what you think. Okay. I'll send it in a picture in a group chat and let Joey and you chime in. But good thing about urban legends, man, is they're always going to be around. And at this time of the year, you're going to hear it comes up, urban legends.
Everybody's got a story.
Everyone wants to be spooky around this time.
October.